Donald Trump is making a lot of noise and a lot of waves on the campaign trail, from comments about John McCain to Lindsey Graham. His theatrics and hyperbole have gotten a lot of attention. Here's the question: can Trump handle the real tough issues? I'm joined by former communications director for the Republican National Committee, Doug Heye. Hey, Doug, great to see you.
Always, thank you.
It seems like here you've got Trump, who's really causing a rift in the Republican Party. It's not like he's getting people to corral around him and give him a lot of support. Is he a problem child right now for the Republican Party?
I think he's a problem child right now, but he doesn't necessarily translate into a problem child in the future if Republicans and, frankly, journalists take the steps necessary to treat him, frankly, as a serious candidate instead of a sideshow that's causing noise and all the other stuff. We need to pin him down on specific issues. And I think we have a good opportunity today when he's going to be at the border. He's going to say a lot of blustery things, probably some negative comments about Mexicans, Mexican Americans as well. You know, instead, I'd like to know what his 5-point plan is to build the wall, how much it's going to cost. Is he going to raise taxes for that? What's his plan for the 11 million people who are already here illegally? We haven't heard anything from Trump on this. I think as we begin to, we'll see that this emperor not only doesn't have any clothes, but doesn't have any answers.
You know, in fact, you've written a piece for the Wall Street Journal arguing that voters, potential voters who take Donald Trump very seriously, potentially could be what undermines and what unravels Donald Trump's campaign. Yeah, absolutely. All we've seen are the name calling and the insults. You know, for the past couple of days, we've been talking about Lindsey Graham's cell phone. There's no voter in America, there's no person in America, except maybe some phone companies, that benefit from that. Instead, let's dial down into the real issues. You know, you were talking about ISIS earlier. You've been talking about the hearings on Capitol Hill on the deal with Iran. Let's hear what Trump thinks about that, but not just a sentence or two, not just name calling. You know, he supported John Kerry. He's donated to John Kerry. So, you know, why do you support this deal or not support this deal? And get into the specifics. And as we do that, we see that he doesn't have answers to these questions. It's all a show, and the show can be a lot of fun, but it's like professional wrestling. He's the bad guy wrestler who's inciting the crowd, provoking the crowd. But ultimately, what are his plans to move America forward? And we haven't heard any of that. You know, there are people who I respect a lot in my life, Doug, who are watching all of the theatrics and everything, and they say they find it refreshing to hear a would-be politician speak freely, speak his mind without threat of being castigated for being politically incorrect. That sort of that freedom to say what's really inside is attractive to some people. Do you want it in the commander of the free world? Maybe not. But at this point, at this stage in the game, that it's enticing people to pay attention to politics. Could that eventually be good, not only for the political race itself, but for Republicans in particular?
No, I don't think it's really good for anybody except for Donald Trump and his Q rating. But what we've seen is and if you look at the polling and you dig down, he's the most unpopular candidate in the country. His negatives are higher than Hillary Clinton's. He can't beat Hillary Clinton in any state in the country. So it's time to get real. But the way that we get real is to dig deep on serious issues. And we've got a debate coming up in Cleveland next month. And that's where I hope Republican candidates, instead of calling him a name, instead of calling him the J word, this is a family program, so I won't use Lindsey Graham's strong language.
Actually, I said it yesterday. It's okay.
That's well, good. But instead of calling him that, instead of calling him a clown, that doesn't really do anything. We need to dig down on the issues that face all Americans and find out if he has any answers. And I think what we've seen in Iowa, where he made some callous religious comments, and what we've seen from his staff afterwards talking about, or not able to talk about, the Veterans Administration, those are specific things that we need to look at. So instead of what he said about John McCain, I don't care what he said about John McCain. I want to know how he's going to fix the Veterans Administration. And what we've seen from his staff is he has no plan to do so. And that's ultimately what's important here.
Listen, I remember the days when you were responsible for communications for a guy who had a lot of bluster and knew how to make theatrics work. Michael Steele, as head of the RNC, brought to the table some of these same characteristics in terms of making people sit up and pay attention to him. Behind the scenes, I'm sure that it could be a complicated task to try and focus the message, so to speak. If you were Donald Trump's communications person, and perhaps I'm asking you to make a really big imaginary leap in your head.
Definitely so.
What would you be giving him in terms of advice right now?
Well, I think if you're working for Donald Trump, you know, the advice that you give is to keep on trucking. They're doing what they want to do, and that's why I think for Republican candidates, you know, it's true of politics, and whether you're Republican or Democrat, whether you're running for mayor or for president, if you want to win a conversation, if you want to win a debate, you do that by having your opponent talk about what they don't want to talk about. Right now, all the candidates are talking about what they don't want to talk about except for Trump. We need to change that game and have Trump talking about what he doesn't want to talk about and what he most likely can't talk about. Substantive policy issues, and that's where we'll see voters say, wait a second, this guy's not for real.
Doug Heye, great to see you. Thank you for your insight.
Always, thank you.